Welcome everyone, Adam the Woo here as the recording of this Tuesday, August 30th, 2022 at that hour when one could wear their sunglasses or not wear sunglasses. I've kind of chosen not to wear them because the sun is not really permeating down at this hour. It is approaching the time that some would refer to as dusk. Look at that cloud formation over there. Not sure why I was focusing on that, because I wanted to focus on this. The Celebration Florida water tower, which I am convinced does not have any water in it. I think it is just a prop, because about a year ago when I drove by here, they were doing some maintenance on it and they had that top portion up there on the ground. You decide. I have made my decision. I'm gonna put these back on. I found some stuff at the library yesterday. I went and returned a book on Michael Eisner called The Prince of Magic Kingdom. Read it from cover to cover. Really good. I love Disney history. I love roadside attraction history. I love history of places that I live or have lived. And this place is no exception. Celebration Florida was built starting in the early 90s by the Disney Corporation. Michael Eisner at the forefront of that. Around 1996, it opened its doors and its homes by a lottery system. Paid $1,000, you got into a lottery system, you could be one of the first residents to live right off of Highway 192 in an area some refer to as the bubble. You know, Epcot, Walt's original dream of Epcot was going to be in a dome. This is not in a dome, and it is kind of a makeshift version of Walt's vision, but not really. His dream, in a little bit, kind of, sort of, would have been like this, but not really. But it's the closest thing one could say would be close to Epcot. An Epcot version of what Walt's version of Epcot was. Now, a theme park, which also was part of Walt's idea. That's a whole other subject matter. I found some things at the library yesterday by rooting around in their archives that they have there. Incredible amount of items that most people either don't care about or do not realize is there. That person spinning out, going that way. I'm gonna head in, show some things that I found off of my phone, and also show where they were, and maybe some of this might be never been presented in video before. So I'm gonna do that. Inviting you to join me. A very long intro. Shall you? The dog just barked at me. Oh, that's a horn. These are the cross streets, one of the cross streets leading in, the main entrance into town. And Disney relinquished control of the town back in the 2000s. But take a look at this. Right here on this corner, well, I'm assuming was on this corner, Disney's Town of Celebration. The AMC Theater was still open. There was no Starbucks yet. It was a Barney's Coffee and Tea. And there was a couple other items as well in there. But look, it still had Disney's name on it. And there's still some stuff in there that still bear the name. Ended up digging this up. Pretty interesting that it states here on April 29th of that year, probably 1990, around there. That's when they first came up with the name and unveiled it, quote, Celebration. And if you scroll past down in here, it says that Dick Nunis, who's the president of Walt Disney World, reaffirmed the company's promise to preserve 7,500 acres of wilderness area. There's a lot of wilderness around town, there is. And some of the things that were part of the current plan, Celebration Center, which I believe is where this Publix I'm standing at is, Enterprise Park, residential community, the Disney Institute, which I do not believe exists anymore. I don't even know if there is a Disney Institute in town anymore. Medical Health Center, that's Advent Health now. It was called Celebration Health at one time. Championship golf courses, there's at least 2. I'm not sure if there's 3, but there are a few in town. And then, of course, these schools, workplaces. What really fascinates me is down here something called the Multi-Model Station, a transportation facility to respond to the needs of the region and able to accommodate all forms of rail and other ground transit. There is no train running through town. Was that planned? And here's another article, not even referred to by the town's name, but just simply Disney's Osceola Project. This was probably put out before they came out and released the name, which is interesting because the Florida Project was the name they had before Walt Disney World came to fruition. So I guess project is kind of thrown around with a lot of the Disney stuff before they have their real name announced to the media. Now, I just mentioned how I had assumed Celebration Center was where this Publix and Plaza is. And if this is Celebration Center, it is not what the concept art shows, or at least what the creator had in mind for the concept art, because pay attention here, this thing was massive and had a Ferris wheel on top. Now this over here, which I'm going to drive over to momentarily, looks identical to the artistic rendering. But this does not, and it states below that that is what it was going to look like, an artistic, thought process of what might be over in this section, if this is where it was going to be. Look at this relic, USA Today, back from October of 1985. Mickey builds a town. There's a couple different articles in there as well. And then here's a little closer view there. Mickey giving it a big thumbs up. Oh no, and he's got the paintbrush. Okay, thumbs up and a paintbrush. So this was released not just, not just locally, but nationally in USA Today. Just a few blocks from where I was, standing right here in this empty field with a new hotel over in the distance. Some Disney offices still reside over here. More on that in a minute. Now, Walt Disney World had a preview center over on Hotel Drive, very close to Disney Springs. There's a gnat right there. But there was also a preview center. In fact, there were two of them. I just realized that one of them, before the town was built, sat right here, exactly in this very spot. Doing a little research, figured out that there were 3 to 4 trailers stacked right here, and to disguise those trailers, they built 3 facades. Now this is before anyone could buy a home down in Celebration, so you had to go in and preview. There was a model in here, as well as a facade on this side, a fake facade on this side, and one facing this road. It was very weird and very strange, and a very peculiar way to promote the community, in my opinion. Very bizarre. I'm going to show a photo of it. It sat right here. I'll tell you how I figured that out. Here are those trailers I was referring to. Now, if they're not trailers, they are something that is very similar to a trailer-like substance that has the facades built around it. You can see the backside of that facade there, and the 2 other facades. Now that little island in the areas there, and that retention pond is still over there all these years later. Here's a close-up of one of the facades, the one facing closest to the road. Now this right over here, I will walk over and show what it looks like now versus then. And this might be the same road up here, but I'm not sure. But I will show the same angle. Now this photo was taken out in the road. I'm not going to stand directly in the middle of the road, but I'll kind of get a close walk over across the crosswalk. But it was more or less like this. Obviously this is just a guesstimate of how it was, and there was a Celebration Preview Center sign right on this very corner. In fact, some of that sidewalk might be remnants of the old sidewalk, and this road could be the original road. But if you look at the original photo, there is a little bit of an incline going up off of the main road, and then it kind of ascends up. So there's a little bit of an incline there, not much of one, but there is one. And then there's that median. There was a lot of trees. There's still a few trees over there. And then obviously this right here, this crossing path was there then too. With the crossing path that I'm standing on right there. And retention pond over there, little median. And it looks like there's a turn lane over there. I'll walk over there and see. Turn lane still there. Yep, turn lane still over there. There's the turn arrow. And there it is. Preview center on that very corner. Now an Orlando resort. It's like a hotel over there now called Malaya. Take a look at these sandhill cranes crossing the road. They have the right of way. And what was inside that preview center? This model. Now there is, on the map, downtown, there's another preview center. I'll show where that was. Maybe that got scrapped, but see the top portion of this photo? That was part of that fake facade, which means that this model sat over in that preview center, which looks to be like Market Street, the town square where the post office is. Yeah, there it is right there. They had a model in there. Whatever happened to that model? I want to know. The address was 2001 Celebration Place. There is no such address at the moment. I'm standing at 200 Celebration Place. Has the features of what any guest could see there. It's open from 10 to 7. And that is what it looked like there. Now I am over here across the road on the 200 block. So the 200 block, which still to this day houses the Disney Cruise Line, Disney Parks Experience and Products, and Disney World Resort Park sales and services. So there still is Disney in town. Magnificent buildings. The architecture all through this area, pretty incredible. They hired a vast amount of architects, 4 or 5 very famous architects, to build all these buildings, and this is just one of them. This area built by Aldo Rosi, and the inspiration was the main piazza of Pisa, Italy. That's where they got their inspiration for this little courtyard. This thing always kind of blows my mind a little bit, this pyramid right here in the middle of this circle. This whole area is on the concept art as well, even though it did not open originally when, you know, the downtown opened a couple years later. This is on the concept art. But even though it does look very similar with the same type of courtyard, there is a little differences. There's no pyramid there in the middle, no jagged pyramid, tall pyramid. It's more of a rocket looking thing, and the buildings themselves are just a little bit different as well in comparison. Pretty close, but a little bit different. Very well manicured and kept up. All right, I'm gonna head that way and head over towards the downtown. But before heading down there real quick, gonna go back over to one more spot from the preview center. Reading this article, it said that there was a lot of interest in it. So the preview center, which I'm gonna match up that spot there, and this is what the inside the preview center. This article says that on a Sunday, on a weekend, they would get 1,000 people in the preview center. 1,000 people. Every Sunday. And when they had the grand opening of the preview center, they had a little ceremony over there in front of it. Article goes on to say it was there goes the sandhills going by. It was over 4,000 square foot building, and over 500 people showed up to the opening of the presentations, which just so happened to be on my birthday, August 10th, is when the preview center opened right here. And there was a brass band that played Be Our Guest from Beauty and the Beast. Kind of appropriate. And that photo in the newspaper article was taken right at this very angle. So just imagine 500 people over here in this now lot looking at the opening of the preview center for Disney's town, a town that Disney built. A lot of excitement in the air. And that's the angle there where I'm standing. So where I got my feet planted here is pretty much where everyone else would have been watching the ribbon cutting. Also, I got some new shoes on, new pair of shoes. I've got a bunch of these pairs of shoes, but finally took these ones out of the box. But I'm standing in the same spot. You know, in all the time I've lived here, I've never walked over to this section. Got the picnic tables over here. Got another jagged pyramid. Small well, not jagged, but I guess the word would be skinny pyramid here. And then the bigger one over there in the distance. And you got the airplane going by there. I think there's a lot of non-Disney offices in here now too. So you got a lot of the Disney offices over there. But this one, I think at one point had a lot of Disney offices in it, and now it's used for something else. I drove over towards Island Village, which is a kind of subdivision or a expansion onto Celebration. It's down that way, but there's a bridge, kind of an old-timey bridge that's 16 feet. But look at this place called Future Way. Is this the Mystery Mobile going by? Made it downtown now. Starting to get a little dark. There's plenty of lights though to kind of show what I need to show. Not a lot of photos of Eisner here when he did the grand opening of Celebration itself. But there is one. It's the only one I've ever found. I'm sure there's others out there, but the one I'm referring to happens right here on this corner where he was standing Right about there is a bunch of people over on that corner wearing Mickey shirts. That photo can be seen right here. You see the clock. And now it is a Bank of America, but then it was also a preview center. The second preview center, and the reason I know that is because it's listed here as number 10, preview center. There also used to be a grocery store down here. There is no grocery store anymore. There used to be a Goodings. I kind of wish there still was some sort of grocery store. Now there is like there's the Cornerstone, which has, they have a few different groceries and things like that. But there really is, the closest one would be Publix on the outside of town, but there used to be a Goodings. That's very interesting. And Zerbez Antiques is where the Cornerstone is now. It was an antique store. Also quite a few other little things here too. There's Sweet Shop, the AMC Theater's listed there. SunTrust Bank, which is on the other corner. And a Village Mercantile. These were all, and obviously the downtown is legendary because it's a downtown legend. But looking at number 10, which states it is the preview center, is now the Bank of America. So this probably would have been the preview center that opened after the other one closed and the town opened, which sits at the base of this very unique structure here. And the Goodings grocery store was now where the Thai restaurant is now. So it wouldn't have been a Thai place, would have been a grocery store. And the antique store would have been right over here where Cornerstone Market is, which is kind of the closest thing to a grocery store that's down here, more or less. It's just a little convenience store. They serve food, deli food and stuff like that next to the post office. The post office created by Michael Graves, architect who did Swan and Dolphin and also did at the Disney Studios in Burbank. He did the building with the dwarves holding up the roof. Michael Graves, not the singer from the Misfits. And here's some concept art here I found. Right next to another building by a different architect, world-renowned architect. This building by Philip Johnson. The entire idea, not only with the homes that were built here, was to have a lot of different styles and a lot of different architects build it, so kind of a mishmash of a lot of different styles, and I think it worked out the way they planned. Now this is listed as the town hall. Rarely do I ever see anything really happening over here, and during Christmas sometimes they'll have this door open and Santa will be in there. So I've seen it open for different events, but it's pretty rare. Also, Celebration has a little news gazette that comes out every month. I'm going to walk over here and show the bank, which is also in one of the opening day newspaper articles. But yeah, this is the town hall, not a city hall, the town hall. And across from where I'm standing was the SunTrust Bank. Now it's called the Truist branch and just says the Bank of Celebration. 3,200 square foot building. So this was here opening day also. And I would just guess that this was the only bank in town. It was before Bank of America popped up over on Market Street. Still here. This church over here is great. I really like it during the holidays. It's all lit up with lights. Very beautiful. Right now there's no lights on it other than the ones under the awnings here. But I do want to show here, this has a little Walt and Roy history as well. Here on the side. Community Presbyterian Chapel dedicated to the glory of God and loving memory of dear uncles Walt and Roy Disney, given by Dorothy Disney Pewter. And it has a quote here from Psalms 23, verses 1 and 2. And here's a couple other original newspaper articles I found when I was at the library. Planners want Disney Celebration to begin. Got some of the details there. It's like a two-part article. And then going to here, Disney makes town preview a celebration. Talking about Dick Nunes giving a presentation in front of 400 or 500 different people, just showing what Celebration was going to be about. This was not the same 400 people that watched the preview center open, but different people. And a promotional video was shown, and to quote the promotional video, it'll look like your hometown, which reminds me a lot. Yeah, it's got a little bit of different elements, I think, of everyone's hometown. And when it first opened, it was pretty much the neighboring areas right around this section. So Water Street, which is here, Market Street, all this was the first phase. You got the canals here. Kind of tough to see it because it's at night. So I was looking at some satellite images pre-1994, and oh, look at the lightning over there. Wow. And the waterway, the canals, were not there, nor was Lake Reinhardt, which I walk up there. And if you look at it before they built Market Street, so when they first man-made the canals and man-made Lake Reinhardt, there was just a row of water going this way. Now it did go to about here, and then it kind of went diagonal. So it went from here, and then it more or less went that way to connect with Lake Reinhardt. So I'm curious, does this flow underneath this bridge and dump into Lake Reinhardt? Underneath all of Market Street, is that possible? I think it has to be. I don't see how they could just stop the water flow. Okay, I'm listening, and it appears as if there's a waterfall. I gotta watch my step here. But it appears as if, and sounds like, the water goes under that bridge and then maybe into some sort of a tunnel or a sewage bracket that goes completely under the downtown. Who knew? Because that has to run off somewhere. And I hear roaring water down there. Could also be where Pennywise lives, so I'll probably just go ahead and just step away. Pretty dang fascinating. My shoes are wet now, so I'm gonna make a little squeaking sound. But pretty fascinating to think that there is water maybe running, either running under here or maybe going underneath the town hall, post office, and diagonal and connecting with Lake Reinhardt over there. When I get over to the lake, I'm gonna see if I can find some sort of outlet where the water might dump into there, possibly. Now it does not say Goodings, but it does say Orlando's hometown grocer 1907, which could possibly be the Goodings, but notice them sitting in front of this park bench. And because this is where the Goodings would have been, I think that would have been right here. This window looks pretty similar to where that park bench, I don't think it was that park bench, that's a newer park bench, but there was one right in the middle of this window where that photo was taken. And here's some more concept art of the town square over there where the fountain is, less foliage than there is now. Town hall, the post office, what was the antique store, now is the Cornerstone Market, over here the grocery store, and then heading down Market Street. In fact, this angle looks directly down Market Street, where this guy is standing here is where I'm standing at this very moment. Well, pretty close, within a few feet. Ah, here's another confirmation that that very unique structure that looks like something out of Blade Runner, 12,200 square foot sales office, was known as the Preview Center, was designed by architect Arthur Anderson. And there's a little quote from him right there on why he chose that artistic design. Another article talking about, like the traditional village, a new kind provides a variety of housing type, detached townhouses, granny flats above garages, shopkeeper apartments above the stores. Yeah, that pretty much, in a nutshell, is this area right here. If Americans are flexible enough to consider returning to a way of life that satisfied most of humanity for the last 6,000 years, then the idea may shape the next century. And this is interesting, I never realized this, but the cinema was created by two people, Caesar Pelé and Raphael Pelé, separated by 29 years, and possibly father and son. And they wanted, you know, the theater to have tall sign towers, marquees, ticket booths, and sidewalk designs. Wonder if the architect had any idea that 2022 his creation would be sitting empty for over a decade. And there's a lot of documentation that originally there were boats on the lake. I haven't seen a boat on the lake since I've lived here or visited here, even before I moved here. But look what's new. Right now, 2022, the boats are not new. This is like the cover of a pamphlet. I really want to see sailboats in there, maybe like some Swan Boats. Just right over there. That's where that artistic rendering was. Take a look at this. Homeowners are excited to join Disney's community. This is in the same spot I'm standing here. See the balloons up there? I never see anybody walking around here with balloons, but yeah, this is definitely modeled after like a Main Street USA. Look, there's actually like, are those Swan Boats in there? They are. There are Swan Boats on the water. It needs to happen. Bring them back. And there's a little memento over here on the side of almost every power pole throughout the community itself. Even though Disney kind of uprooted from, you know, from the area in the early 2000s or mid, 2006, 2007, I believe it was. Don't quote me on that. But look at this. There is still the Disney logo right there. So Celebration, established in '94. I don't think anybody moved in until like a couple years later. Again, not 100% sure on that one. But look at this. Look at this. This is on almost all the light poles through town. Isn't that fascinating? I just love finding stuff like that. With the frogs making quite a racket. Right over here in this lot where they still do a lot of events. Next to a pool, a little area. It's a grassy section where they have the Founders Day. And there's a photo from 1997 of a bunch of people in that little lawn area there with the backdrop over here. And it was a Founders Day event. Look how beautiful the theater is over there. You kind of see it through the foliage. But there's the Founders Day photo from '97. Right there. Founders Day weekend, November 14th through 16th, 1997. And there's the spires of the theater and downtown Market Street in the background. And that's going to do it for today. The only thing I could think of where the water might come out from, if you go past the theater, there is another bridge over there that I walked across. It's kind of hard to see it because it's in the dark. But there is like a waterway over there, so it could possibly be a runoff from the canal in that area. That's just my thoughts anyway. But that's going to do it for today. I've said so much, yet I've said so little. And I'll cover more stuff as time goes on, as I discover more stuff, but I find this stuff fascinating, and I hope you did too. I appreciate you watching. I'll see you in the next video. The vlog. There's a crescent moon up there, but my camera doesn't really pick it up. The vlog is over. Bonus footage. Here's a photo of the Cornerstone Deli and Cafe when it was the antique store. Zerbs. And here's another article that is kind of interesting, mostly because of the artwork. Look at this. Mickey with a house for a head. All right, one last photo. Here's one of the architects walking along, looking at his handiwork right when everything was completed. Just soaking it all in, saying, I did a job well done. Right along this very railing along the lakefront with Market Street in the background. Kind of a neat little, it's like one of the really only photos I saw of one of the architects here on site that I found. I'm sure there's others, but that's the one I found.